Life always felt like a balancing act in our house. Dad was the kind who buried himself in his work to avoid dealing with anything at home. Claire, my stepmom, was loud, had an opinion on everything, and ran the household like she owned every corner of it, which, to her mind, she probably did. I remember that evening clearly. It was a few days before my 6th birthday. Dad had just come home late, as usual, his face tired, the lines deeper than they were the day before. Claire was in the kitchen, her voice cutting through the air like a sharp knife. Lucy, who was barely a toddler then, was messing around with her food, getting more on the table than in her mouth. "John, you need to look at these bills. I can't be expected to manage everything around here on pennies." Claire's voice would rise with each word, a mix of a whine and a command. Dad, who just wanted a quiet dinner, rubbed his temples. "Claire, can it wait? I've been at the plant since dawn." "No, it can't wait. It's your house too, isn't it? Or do you only remember that when you want a clean shirt or a hot meal?" She snapped back, slamming a pile of envelopes on the table. I watched from the doorway, my small hands clenched. This was a usual evening for us. Dad sighed. "All right, let's see them." His voice resigned, knowing arguing was useless. I turned to go back to my room, but Claire caught sight of me. "And where do you think you're going, Maya? Dinner's ready. Sit down and eat, not that you ever help much around here." I muttered a quiet, "sorry," and took my seat opposite Lucy, who was giggling and smearing mashed potato on her cheeks. Claire always laughed at that, saying, "Isn't she just the cutest?" But if I had done that, there would have been hell to pay. During dinner, Dad tried to make small talk. "So, Maya, how's school? You making us proud?" Before I could answer, Claire cut in. "She's doing okay. Needs to focus more on her math. Right, Maya?" Her tone was pointed, like she expected me to mess up. "Yeah, I guess," I replied, not wanting to start another argument. Dad nodded, looking a bit disappointed but too tired to say more. After dinner, I was clearing the table when Lucy, done with her food-flinging art, ran up to Dad, who immediately scooped her up. "There's my little princess. Did you have fun today?" Lucy nodded, her face bright. Claire watched them, her smile softening. "She's got your eyes, John. Pure joy, that one." I stood there, holding dirty plates, feeling like an outsider in my own home. As I washed the dishes, I could hear them in the living room, laughing. The sound stung, but I was used to it. Growing up, it felt like I was just an extra piece in the family puzzle, never quite fitting in. Things only got worse as I hit my teens. It was like every day, there was a new reminder that I didn't quite belong. For Lucy, my stepmom Claire would go all out, brand name clothes, the latest gadgets, and even a lavish birthday party every year. For me, I was lucky to get the hand-me-downs and whatever bargain bin items Claire deemed good enough. "Lucy's growing up, she needs the best," Claire would say, handing me some dollar store buys. "These will do for you, Maya. We can't be splashing cash everywhere." It stung, watching Lucy unwrap gifts I'd only dream of, while I clutched tightly to the second-rate stuff that was my lot. Even Dad, when he was around, just nodded along with whatever Claire said. He never stood up for me, never questioned it. It was like he didn't see the disparity, or maybe he just chose not to. "Thanks, Claire," I'd mutter, forcing a smile. What else could I do? Complaining only made things worse, and I learned early on to keep my head down. But college was my chance to escape, to start fresh where nobody knew the sad sack version of me that lingered at home. I buried myself in studies and avoided going back unless absolutely necessary. That's where I met Michael, during an economics class group project. "Hey, Maya, you got any ideas on this part?" Michael asked during one of our sessions, pointing at the graphs on his laptop. "Yeah, I think if we adjust the variables here, it could show a better projection trend," I explained, leaning over to show him on the screen. "That's smart. Really smart," he grinned, and that was it. We clicked, not just on the project, but on everything. As college went on, we started hanging out more. It wasn't just the coffee runs or the library sessions, it was the late-night talks, the comfort of having someone who listened, really listened. Time flew, and college ended. We both landed decent jobs in the city, and we kept dating. 4 years flew by in a blink, and then came the day that changed everything. We were at our favorite spot in the city park, the one overlooking the river. It was our anniversary, and Michael seemed more nervous than usual. "Maya, these past years with you have been the best of my life," he started, fidgeting with the box in his pocket. I could tell what was coming, and my heart started racing. "I know we've had our ups and downs, but I can't imagine my life without you. So, here goes," he said, finally pulling out the box and kneeling in front of me. "Will you marry me?" Tears sprang to my eyes. This was it, my chance at a real family, at love. "Yes, Michael. Of course, I will." People around us clapped as he slipped the ring on my finger, and we hugged, caught up in the moment. We decided to have the engagement party at my parents' house. I wanted to show Dad and Claire that I turned out alright, despite everything. The night of our engagement party was one of those warm evenings, where everything seems perfect. The house was buzzing with relatives, friends, and even a few of Michael's colleagues who'd come to celebrate with us. I tried to overlook the nagging comments from Claire, my stepmom, who never missed a chance to make a day about her. "Really, Maya, I don't know why I bother. All this cooking and preparing, and not even a thank you," Claire complained as she arranged the last of the appetizers on the table. Her voice was loud enough for those nearby to overhear, her words laced with the usual bitterness. The dinner went surprisingly smooth, despite Claire's mood. Dad was unusually chatty, probably to make up for Claire's sour attitude. I mingled with the guests, laughing and sharing stories, feeling Michael's absence as the evening drew on. He had excused himself to take a call and hadn't come back. I excused myself from a conversation with Michael's aunt and decided to find him. I wandered through the house, my heels clicking on the hardwood floor, but there was no sign of him inside. I stepped out into the garden, the night blooming with the scent of jasmine and the soft glow of outdoor lights guiding my path. In the distance, I heard hushed voices from behind the bushes in the far corner of our large garden. My heart thudded with a mix of curiosity and dread as I moved closer, the voices becoming clearer. "I can't do this right before the wedding, it's too soon," Michael's voice, tense and low, broke through the night. "We don't have to wait. We can leave together, now," Lucy, my stepsister, responded, her tone urgent and soft. Frozen, I edged nearer, concealed by the shadows, until I saw them, Michael and Lucy, too close, their hands intertwined. Then, the unthinkable, they kissed. A sharp pain shot through my chest, and tears stung my eyes. Fueled by a mix of anger and betrayal, I stepped out from my hiding place, my voice cold and sharp as I interrupted them. "Having fun, are we?" They jerked apart, guilt splashed across their faces. Michael stuttered, "Maya, this isn't what it looks like." "Oh, spare me the lies, Michael. I heard everything. Is this why you've been so distant?" My words cut through the night, my tone bitter. Lucy, ever the manipulator, tried to smooth things over. "Maya, we didn't mean for it to happen like this." "Like this? How else were you planning on stabbing me in the back, Lucy?" I snapped back, the hurt evident in my voice. Without waiting for a response, I stormed back towards the house, my mind racing with anger and my heart heavy. The garden lights blurred through my tears as I made my way back, determined to expose their betrayal to everyone. The chatter of the party hushed almost instantly as I made my way to the center of the room. My eyes scanned the gathered guests, settling on the faces of my father and Claire, who looked back with a mix of confusion and concern. "Everyone, I have something important to say," I began, my voice steady, despite the turmoil inside. The room fell utterly silent, all eyes on me. I just caught Michael and Lucy together outside. They weren't just talking, they were kissing. "They're planning to run away and leave me right before our wedding." The words tumbled out, harsh but true. A collective gasp swept through the room. Heads turned, seeking Michael and Lucy, who stumbled in after me, looking disheveled and guilty. Murmurs filled the room, but before the chatter could grow, Claire stepped forward, her voice cutting through the noise. "Oh, please, everyone, calm down. There's nothing wrong with what's happening here," Claire announced loudly, her tone dismissive as if I had complained about something trivial. She continued, emboldened by the attention. "I fully support Michael's choice. My Lucy is much more suitable for him, more beautiful and smarter." I stared at her, incredulous. The room spun slightly as her words sank in. "How can you say that? How can you take their side?" I managed to say, my voice cracking. Claire's eyes narrowed slightly. "Maya, let's be realistic. You were never quite right for Michael. It's better this comes out now rather than later." The guests shifted uncomfortably, some looking at the floor, others exchanging uneasy glances. Then, Michael's parents spoke up. "This is a matter for the young people to decide amongst themselves," his father said, throwing up his hands as if to distance himself from the controversy. I looked around, feeling a desperate need for someone to support me, to say something in my defense. But then my own father stepped forward. His voice was calm, too calm. "Maya, maybe it's best to handle this quietly. Let's not make a scene." A scene? My life was falling apart in front of everyone, and he was concerned about propriety? I felt a hot tear roll down my cheek, then another. "You want me to be calm? To accept this quietly?" I asked, my voice rising with each word. Seeing no ally in the crowd, feeling like a stranger among those I called family and friends, I turned and ran. I ran away from the murmuring, from the staring eyes, from the judgment and the cold comfort. I sprinted up to my room, slammed the door shut, and leaned against it, my whole body shaking with sobs. I had never felt so alone, so abandoned. I knew then what I had to do. Through my tears, I started pulling clothes from my wardrobe, throwing them into my suitcase. Each piece thrown in felt like a step away from this life, from these people. "I'm done," I whispered to myself as I zipped up the suitcase. "I'm done with all of them." I arrived in the city just as dawn was breaking, the early light painting the buildings in hues of gold and pink. I didn't have much of a plan, but the one thing I was sure of was that I needed to find a job and a place to live, fast. The first few days were a blur of apartment hunting and job interviews. I crashed at a cheap motel on the outskirts of the city, my nights restless as I scrolled through endless rental listings and updated my resume. Finally, I landed a job at a large marketing firm. It wasn't exactly in my field, but it was a start. On my first day, I walked into the firm, my nerves jangling but masked by a firm set to my shoulders. The reception was bustling, people moving briskly, phones ringing off the hook. I approached the front desk, where a woman with sharply styled hair looked up. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone brisk. "Hi, I'm Maya. Today's my first day," I replied, trying to sound confident. "Oh, right. Maya." She glanced down at a sheet of paper, then back up at me. "You're with Derek's team, 4th floor. I'll buzz you in." She handed me a visitor's badge without a smile. "Thanks," I said, clipping the badge to my shirt. The elevator ride up was quick, and I found myself standing outside an office marked Derek Simmons, Marketing Director. Taking a deep breath, I knocked. The next weeks were a whirlwind of learning and adjusting. I rented a small, cozy apartment downtown and threw myself into my work. The team was young and dynamic, and I slowly began to feel like I belonged. One Friday, after a particularly grueling week, a group from work decided to hit a nearby bar. "Come on, Maya, you should join us," Jenna, one of my coworkers, urged. "It'll be fun, and you deserve a break." I hesitated, then thought, why not? "All right, let's go. I could use some fun." The bar was noisy and packed, but the atmosphere was vibrant. We found a table, and soon enough, drinks were flowing, and the team was laughing over shared office blunders. It felt good to laugh, to feel part of something again. "So, Maya, tell us." Jenna leaned in, a mischievous glint in her eye. Any romantic interests? You're too good to be single. I laughed, shaking my head. No, nothing like that. Just focusing on settling in and the job for now. Fair enough, but just so you know, the city is full of opportunities. She winked, and the group erupted into laughter again. As we chatted, a man approached our table, excusing himself politely. Sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help overhearing. You're newcomers to the city? We are, well, except for Maya here. She's a local now, Jenna said, introducing us. The man was Tom, a successful businessman with a warm smile and an easygoing demeanor. We hit it off almost instantly. Tom was not only charming but genuinely interested in my story. We talked long into the night, long after my colleagues had left. A year later, we were married in a small but elegant ceremony. None of my family who sided with Lucy were invited. Life with Tom was bliss. I quickly became pregnant and gave birth to a beautiful daughter. As I held her in my arms, I realized I had finally found the happiness and love I always craved, far from the shadows of my past. We were happy, and the past was a distant memory, or so I thought until one afternoon when my phone rang, displaying a number I didn't recognize. Hello? I answered cautiously. Maya, it's Claire, the familiar voice said, sending a chill down my spine despite the years of silence. What do you want, Claire? My tone was cold, guarded. We need your help, Maya. It's about Lucy. Claire's voice sounded hesitant, a stark contrast to her usual assertiveness. I paused, considering hanging up, but curiosity got the better of me. What about her? She's been trying to have a baby, Maya. 4 years now. And, well, she can't. The doctors say it's unlikely she ever will. Claire explained, her voice a mix of desperation and something I couldn't quite place. And you're telling me this because... I prompted, not seeing where this was leading. We were hoping, maybe, you could help her, Maya. Maybe you could be a surrogate for her. Carry her child. Claire said quickly, as if rushing to get the words out before she lost her nerve. I was stunned into silence. The audacity of the request left me speechless. After a moment, I managed to find my voice. You're out of your mind if you think I'd ever do that for you or her. But Maya, you're her sister, and you've successfully had a child. You're our only hope. Think about it, for family's sake? Claire pressed, her voice becoming more insistent. Family? You lost the right to call me family the moment you sided with her over me. Tell Lucy to find someone else. I owe you nothing. Don't call me again. I hung up before she could say anything else, my heart pounding with a mixture of anger and shock. I sat there, phone in hand, trying to process the conversation. The nerve of them asking me to be a surrogate after everything. It was unbelievable. Tom came into the room, noticing my distress. Everything okay, babe? He asked, coming over to place a comforting hand on my shoulder. I shook my head, trying to calm my racing thoughts. That was Claire. She had the audacity to ask me to be a surrogate for Lucy. I told him, my voice still laced with disbelief. Tom's brow furrowed, his protective instincts kicking in. What? That's insane, Maya. After everything they've done? How could she even think to ask that of you? I don't know. I really don't know. I told her never to call again, I said, leaning into his embrace, grateful for his support. We decided then and there to block Claire's number, shutting the door firmly on that chapter of my life. I wasn't going to let them disrupt our peace, not anymore. I had moved on, and they were just shadows of a past best forgotten. The week after Claire's unbelievable call was tense, like waiting for another shoe to drop. And drop it did, the very next Monday. I had just took Lily to kindergarten and was pulling into our driveway when I noticed an unfamiliar car parked out front. As I got closer, my stomach dropped. Lucy and Michael climbed out of the vehicle. I parked cautiously, my heart hammering as they approached me. Maya, we need to talk, Lucy started, her voice urgent. I think you've said enough, I replied, trying to keep my tone steady as I grabbed my bag and moved to get out of the car. Michael stepped in front of me, blocking my path to the house. His expression was desperate, almost wild. "Listen, we need your help. We can't afford the $80,000 for surrogacy. You have to help us." "I don't have to do anything," I said firmly, trying to sidestep him, but he shifted, blocking me again. "If you won't carry the child for us, then give us the money to find someone who will," he demanded, his voice raising. I recoiled, shocked by his audacity. "Are you serious? After everything, you think I owe you something?" Lucy chimed in, her tone pleading. "Maya, please. We're desperate. We'll do anything." Her words sent a chill down my spine. I said no. "Now move," I insisted, my voice stronger. But Michael wasn't done. "We're not leaving until you agree. One way or another, we'll have our child." Scared by his tone and what he might do, I turned and hurried back to my car, locking the doors the moment I was inside. I quickly dialed Tom and then the police, my hands shaking as I explained the situation. While on the phone, I saw Michael and Lucy pacing outside, shouting and gesturing wildly towards the car. "You can't hide from this, Maya. You'll help us whether you like it or not," Michael yelled. Their threats echoed in my ears, ramping up my fear. I crouched down in my seat, praying for Tom and the police to arrive quickly. It felt like an eternity, but finally, I heard sirens in the distance. At the same moment, Tom's car screeched into the driveway. He ran to my car and pulled me into his arms the moment I got out. The police arrived and immediately intervened. They talked to Michael and Lucy, who were still shouting about their rights and needs. After a brief exchange, the officers handcuffed them and led them to the patrol car. After the police left with them, Tom and I went inside. The house felt different, tainted by the day's events, but Tom's steady presence helped bring a sense of safety back. "We're getting a restraining order first thing tomorrow," Tom declared, his jaw set in determination. "They're not going to come near you or Lily ever again." True to his word, we obtained a restraining order against Lucy and Michael. I was grateful for Tom, for his unwavering support, and for the quiet strength that had emerged within me. It had been 6 months since the last ordeal with Lucy and Michael, and our lives had returned to a peaceful routine. I was spending a quiet afternoon in the backyard with Lily when my phone rang with an unknown number. With a sigh, I picked up, ready to dismiss whatever sales pitch awaited. "Hello? Maya, it's Claire. I know you told me never to call you again, but..." I cut her off, my voice cold. "You're right, I did. What do you want now, Claire?" "It's about your father and me. Lucy has kicked us out of the house. She wants to sell it to pay for her surrogacy," Claire blurted out, her voice rushed. I paused, processing her words. "Wait, how could Lucy kick you out if it's your house?" There was a heavy silence before Claire answered, her voice lower. "Well, your father, we transferred the house to her. I persuaded him to do it years ago, to make sure you couldn't claim it." I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. "You did what?" My voice rose, despite my attempt to control it. "Yes, and now she's turned on us. She's throwing us out." "Maya, I didn't know where else to turn. Could we possibly stay with you, just for a little while?" "You're asking to stay with me? After everything? You choose her over me, manipulate my father, strip me of my rights, and now you want my help because she's turned on you?" "Maya, please, I know it's a lot to ask, but we have nowhere else to go. We're your family." Claire's voice cracked. "That's where you're wrong, Claire. You stopped being my family a long time ago," I said firmly. "You made your choice. Live with it. Don't call me again." I hung up before she could respond. Tom noticed my distress when he came home and found me staring off into the distance. "Everything okay?" he asked, coming over to sit beside me. I shook my head, then told him about the call. I told her to never contact me again. They chose their path. Tom nodded, putting an arm around me. "You did the right thing. We have our own family to think about." As I leaned into Tom's embrace, I felt the truth of his words settle around me. Our family, Tom and Lily, was my priority. The ties to my past, painful and complicated, were now firmly behind me. I was done looking backward. From that day on, I focused on the life we were building. Playing with Lily in the yard, planning future trips with Tom, enjoying the simple, beautiful moments of our life together.